Welcome to the Ride and Inspire podcast, where we talk all things mountain biking, mindset, and learning that actually sticks. And I take you out on my creativity walks. If you've ever taken a skills clinic and if you felt pumped, and then a few weeks later you thought, wait, why do I still feel awkward on the trail? Why am I still scared? Or why is this skill not working out? Well, then this episode is for you. And I can relate to this so much because, yep, that was me too. That was so me. And let me tell you the truth about why I took one clinic after the other and still I kind of sucked on trails. And of course, I'm going to tell you today what finally changed everything. Because when I first got into mountain biking, I did what a lot of motivated riders do. I signed up for all the one-day skills clinics I could find. Bunny hops, cornering, line choice, you name it, I was there. Like always first signing up. And those days were fun. I met great people, I got some tips, I had a few aha moments, and yeah, I did improve. But here's the thing, after each clinic, I went home, I got on my bike and pretty much just rode. I just rode trails because I didn't really know what to practice or how or when. And honestly, I also started overthinking many things because in every clinic I got more and more information, but because I didn't really have time to practice, I really didn't start to turn all that knowledge into on-trail applicable skills. So over time, I started wondering, why isn't this working? I'm investing time, I'm investing money, I'm learning from good coaches. Why do I still feel stuck? And maybe you felt that too. Maybe you have, because I hear this a lot from riders now that I've been a full-time coach for many, many years. So here's the bold truth that I really wish someone would have told me sooner. One-day clinics give you information, but they rarely give you transformation. Because transformation, real skill change, doesn't happen in a single day. Why? Because of how our brain and bodies actually learn. So let's nerd out for a tiny second here, just a little, bear with me, with Motor Learning 101. When we learn any new movement, we go through 3 stages. One's the cognitive stage, so you're thinking hard, where do I put my foot? Is my elbow where it belongs? Then comes the associative stage, that's stage 2. You start to get the feel, movements become smoother, and you need fewer cues. And then comes stage 3, the autonomous stage. It just happens. You ride without thinking and your body knows what to do. Clinics drop you into stage 1, the cognitive stage, but you don't stay there long enough to move forward. Why? Because you need sleep in between to go from stage 1 to 2 to 3. It's just a neuroscientific fact. And why is that? Because after the clinic, there's no structured practice with feedback, no repetition, and no feedback to go with that repetition, which will then bring you from stage 1 to 2 to 3. So most riders bounce between, oh, I get it, and falling back into old habits. And that's when frustration kicks in, and that's how I felt for many years when I started. So what does real learning need? Well, 1, it needs step-by-step practice, ideally with drills tailored to your current level. And you need a safe environment to practice where messing up isn't scary, because mistakes are not an undesired side effect, they're a necessity to improve. After all, if you keep doing what you're already good at, how are you ever going to learn something new? And most importantly, learning needs feedback over time. And that's how I finally started progressing. Not overnight, not through magic, but through consistent, focused practice over weeks with feedback, just like learning a language or building muscle in the gym. So You know, you wouldn't expect to become fluent in French after a one-day workshop, right? Why do we do it with biking? I still remember the first time I truly felt a breakthrough in my riding, and it didn't happen during a clinic. It was actually an ordinary afternoon in my backyard. No coach standing next to me, no pressure, just me, quiet space, and a super simple drill that I think I'd done it like 15 or 16 times before, and I almost didn't do it again, but I did. So then, out of nowhere, something clicked. My body just got it. And I wasn't overcorrecting, I wasn't wobbling. I just felt that stability my coach had talked about. Not just in my body, but I felt it in my mind and body. It's really hard to describe, but it was quiet in my mind while I felt it in my body. I think if you felt this before, it makes sense to you. You know, the movements, they just flowed, and I wasn't thinking about every little moment and every little cue and all the details anymore. I was just doing it. And that moment, I remember this so well because it really was in my backyard, and it changed everything. Like, it changed how I started to see learning, because these are the moments that I then kept seeking through practice, because those are the moments that builds real confidence. Those are the moments, really, like when it clicks, that's when you notice, okay, oh man, I should have trusted the process earlier. The progress will come if you trust the process. That's what creates flow. And it's not the hype, it's not the adrenaline. It's deep, embodied understanding. The kind that comes from giving your brain and body enough time to actually implement knowledge. Overthinking stops, like it really stops when you let your body take over. And that's not magic. It's through something called automatization. So like when a big chunk of the foundational movements finally is automatized, that's when things finally start to feel natural. And I still have that today. I have another example. This was during COVID, that in Spain, we weren't allowed to leave the house for, I think, 9 weeks. So we weren't allowed to, basically, if you had like a flat, you weren't allowed to leave the flat. But I was very grateful that we had a garden. And I was practicing in my garden with sticks and pallets and everything. Every day, actually. It was once or twice a day for 20 minutes. And I didn't leave my house for 9 weeks. And then we had another 3 weeks where we were allowed to leave the house, but just in the morning and not very far. So this is 12 weeks where I didn't hit the trails at all. And then I remember after the 12 weeks, I was pretty scared about going back to the trails because I thought I would probably ride like a beginner. But I was riding better than I had ever before, although I hadn't touched a trail for over 12 weeks. And that was because I had done so much practice and so much video analysis in those 12 weeks on the foundational patterns. This was balance, this was braking, and all those little pieces, they just fell into place once I got out and rode trails again, although I hadn't ridden trails in 12 weeks. And that really just reinforced what I've been feeling and knowing for years now. And I just remember this because that was such a game-changing moment. And I'm sure that if you feel it, you will know what I mean. So if you tend to overthink on the trails, that's because usually you're trying to think of everything at once. And it feels like too much. And you know what? That's because it is too much. Your brain really wasn't designed to juggle all of that in real time unless some of it is already handled by your quote-unquote muscle memory. Muscle memory, I always put it in quotes because there's no such thing. Muscle memory is just brain memory that is automatized, and then your muscles can execute it without you thinking about it. But the good news is those pieces will fall into place, not by riding harder or faster or doing any of those scary stunts, but actually by giving yourself time to build solid automatic movement patterns in a safe environment and building the right patterns by getting feedback or analyzing your own movement patterns. And that's actually what I really want to bring out into the world, because that's when mountain biking can get, or that's when you can get better and better and better at mountain biking without endangering yourself. And that's why I do what I do. And that's actually the reason why I invented the online coaching platform, not because I wanted to get rich with it, but because I found something that actually works. And I can work with people from all over the world. So if you've taken clinics and still feel stuck, you're not broken. You just haven't been taught in a way that sticks. So here's something I never expected. When I started doing this, when I started working with my remote coaching, I have never seen riders progress as well as they do with my online courses. Seriously. Because when I used to teach live clinics, I'd see someone once or twice a year. Every time they came back, it often felt like we were starting from scratch, because without a plan, without feedback, without repetition, real change just doesn't stick. But with remote coaching, when riders follow the structure and they take time between sessions and they get support when they need it, I see the real transformation. Not just the information that sticks, but the transformation that actually occurs. It shows with more confidence, more control, and like lots more smiles. Especially riders when they're age 70 plus or 80 plus, they don't crash, they just enjoy. And this is why I do what I do. And I know I'm always hesitant sharing this in my podcasts because it sounds like it's just advertisement, but my soul burns for making this sport safer, because I believe we all deserve to ride with clarity, with confidence, and with joy, not just on our best days, but on any trail at any time. So if this resonated, share it with a riding buddy who's ready to stop guessing and start progressing. And I hope you enjoyed this little excursion, if that's a word, into my past, how I started, how I failed, how I got up, and why I do what I do. So it's not about talent, it really is about training smart. Much love to you. Goodbye.